Hi everybody. I thought I would do a vlog on some of my experiences as a fairly new service dog handler. I've had Jellybean now for over a year. Always learning, always encountering interesting situations. Some good, some not so good. First of all, I'll start off with my more bizarre interaction with someone. Okay, I'll show you. I don't know if you can see this. If you can see, it says on this vest that I had. This is before I got my mobility harness. It says no touch, no talk, no eye contact. I was at one of the subway stations here where I live, and somebody asked about that patch that I had on her vest, and I explained it's like somebody distracting you from your job. And I kind of went into a further explanation, and they said, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense," you know. And they said that they'd always wondered why that was, and I said, "Oh, okay, well, I don't have any issues explaining it." But they happened to get on the same train I did, and one of the ladies sat beside me, and the other one, who initially asked the question, she actually got on all fours. Sorry, I gotta take these glasses off. They're kind of new, and they're not really mine. Anyways, and they're kind of bothering me. Anyways, she got on all fours, and yeah, it was kind of an interesting experience because I really didn't know how to respond. So I'm trying to talk to the lady that was sitting beside me, and I'm doing a side glance going, "Oh my gosh, did what I say not register?" I really didn't know how to respond. Like I said, it was just really, really weird. And I was looking down the car that I was in, and some people were kind of a little weird. They were kind of looking at this lady like she was off her rocker or something. Anyways, I didn't say anything because I just didn't know what to say. So that was one of my more bizarre encounters. I've had some good encounters with people in the public in regards to them interacting with Jellybean. I really, really appreciate those people who have the respect enough to ask if they can pet her. And sometimes it's not okay. I might be in a rush to get somewhere, or I'm just not in a frame of mind to be able to deal with people and whatnot. So if that's the case, then I generally say no. Or, if I'm trying to deal with a panic attack or a dizzy spell or whatever, I just say no. But those people that do ask, and this is a personal choice as me as a handler, is I do allow it to happen. If they have the respect enough to ask, then I appreciate that, and so I do reward the person by letting them pet her. I actually just recently, in the last 2 days, I had two teenagers actually ask me on two separate occasions, and one young lady was 2 days ago. She asked if she could pet Jellybean, and I said, yeah, and whenever somebody asks, I thank them. I said, thank you for having the respect of, asking if you can pet her. And the young lady was very, very excited. She's like, I guess she's seen, a few service dogs. But she's like, oh my gosh, this is the first time that, I actually got to pet a service dog. And I explained that it's, the handler's preference, really, if that is allowed or not. And I said, generally if people ask, I will say yes. So she was really, really excited. So I kind of thought that was kind of cute. And then today, actually, there was a young man who, again, asked me, and I was getting off the train. I don't know why these experiences happen when I'm on trains anyways, although the lady was at the mall. And so yeah, I heard behind me this voice ask me if they could pet my dog, and so I turned around and I said, yes, of course. Thank you for asking. And he's like, oh no, not a problem. So it was really nice to see that the younger generation, when I say younger generation, I mean teenagers, because I mean nowadays we know a lot of teenagers don't have a whole lot of respect for their elders. Anyways, so that was kind of a nice experience that I've had. My more scary experience happened on August 26th, the day before my brother's funeral. I was out getting some treats for Jellybean for the funeral, because I mean it was a new experience for both of us. You know, I'd never taken her in that type of situation, so I just wanted to have some treats on hand. And I was waiting for my bus. I was at the bus terminal by the mall, and the way it was situated was I was kind of in a corner, sort of. To my right, there was a bench, but there was two teenage boys that just didn't get up, and I actually preferred to sit on the ground anyways. So, yeah, Jellybean was standing in front of me, you know, keeping an eye on the crowd, which is one of her tasks, is she watches my surroundings. And all of a sudden, from my left, this guy comes around the building of the terminal, and he spots Jellybean, and then he rushes towards her. And I just was absolutely flabbergasted, because regardless if she's a service dog or not, you don't rush a strange dog, because you don't know if they're shy, if they're nervous, if they're, you know, what's going on with this dog. Anyways, and he tried to play with her, and she was so freaked out. She was trying to get away from him, running, you know, everywhere she could to get away from him. And she ended up, because she was on her leash, she couldn't go very far. So she ended up colliding into my chest, which hurt. And the force actually caused me to go backwards, and I hit my head against the building, which was, it was kind of a rough rock texture on the building. So with the force of it, I ended up smashing my head against that. And it was to the point where my head was bleeding. So that was kind of scary. I put my hand to my head, and, you know, I've got blood on my hand, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So, and I was dazed a little bit, like I did black out for a couple seconds after smashing my head. So then I kind of sat there for a few minutes to kind of gather my senses a little bit. And then I went into the mall to go check to see how bad it was. And this guy happened to be in the same area. We were coming out of the bathroom, and in the food court by the bathrooms, there's an information booth, and he was on the phone, using the public phone to call for a cab or something. I don't know what he was doing. Anyways, he spotted her, and she spotted him, and she actually like jumped to the side because she was trying to get away from him. And he was like, oh, no, we can't play. And I just kind of looked at him like, yeah, you know, she doesn't want to play. She's trying to get away from you. And she was on edge. She was like looking around, and she was just really, really nervous after that. Until we left the mall, then she was fine. And we went back to the bus terminal, and I ended up going to the ER because of it. And I did have some lesions on my head, obviously, because my head was bleeding. But fortunately, they were only superficial, and I didn't need any stitches. But I did have a mild concussion, so that was just wonderful. But it was scary. I heard, you know, a few people, and I've read a few articles where, you know, somebody is distracted, you know, their service dog, and they have ended up in the ER because of it. And so that's why it's so vital that you talk to the handler first, and you ask, If you want to know questions about the dog or whatever, don't talk to the dog. Don't distract the dog. Instead, talk to the handler. And after my experience, a week or so ago, I cannot stress that enough. It's scary, by law, these service dogs are viewed as medical equipment. And so, yes, they're living, they're breathing, they might be cute or whatever, but, you could be putting somebody's life in danger if you distract the service dog. Like today, as an example, fortunately nothing happened, but I'm just saying that if somebody had, it could have ended up in a very, very scary situation. I was running some errands, and so I had to get on the subway train to get to where I was going. And we got off the train, and shortly afterwards, Jellybean, she started doing this naturally. She started picking up on my dizzy spells that I have occasionally. And so she's blocking my path so I can't go anywhere. And I lightly lean on her, to kind of, until my dizzy spell passes. But at that moment, the train was going by. So if you can imagine somebody distracting her in that moment, she's doing her job, she's doing her the task that she's, I'll say trained, but really it was just a natural response. That could have been a horrible, horrible outcome. And so some people think that when a service dog handler tells them, no, my dog is working, you cannot pet them, that the person is being rude or whatever. And that's not the case. You don't know the circumstances that's happening prior or whatnot, to you asking, and you don't pet a strange dog. You don't just reach over and pet a stranger's dog, regardless if it's a pet or a service dog or whatnot. You just don't do that. You just don't. So yeah, okay, that kind of turned into a bit of a rant. So I am going to say goodbye, and I hope this helped a little bit, speaking from my experiences and whatnot. So Jellybean and I are always learning. Even if she's considered a full service dog, I always say that she's a service dog in training, because things are always coming up, and we're always learning. So that's the in training part is, so so it's been an interesting journey, one that I am happy to be on, and I couldn't imagine my life without her. All right, talk to you later. Bye.